Hey guys, this is V. Rigoni, Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur. What we're doing today is how do you become the entrepreneur? How do you become the real estate mogul? How do you become that high performance person? People have said to me, why do you name it Max High Performance? Well, because if you ever watched golf on a weekend, you're looking at some of the most high performing players out there, right? These are guys that do extremely well in what they do. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when they're trying to make the cut, you've got the best players playing. Come Saturday and Sunday, you're not only watching the best players, you're watching the best players play their best game. Same thing with Formula One. Now, Formula One racing has become extraordinarily popular in this country. I think they've got 3 races now. Well, it's somewhat similar to IndyCar racing, only they don't do it on an oval. But you watch these guys. You watch how they perform. They're at a high performance level all week. It just builds. But on race day, they're maxing that shit out. They're taking it to another level. It's their ability to take it to another level. So when we're dealing with our content, we're going to be talking about real estate. We're going to be talking about the nuts and bolts. We're going to be talking about the theories around real estate, the economies around real estate, all that. Same thing with becoming an entrepreneur. People say, well, if I just want to be in real estate, why do I want to listen to something that has to do with entrepreneurship? Well, because you cannot become successful in real estate unless you become an entrepreneur. It's not possible because there's all these things that go on that have to do with you becoming a successful entrepreneur. That's the way it works. As you become a successful entrepreneur, real estate may be your game. It might be single family homes. It might be multifamily. It might be commercial. Sometimes that's just what you like. And sometimes it has to do with where the economy is. What part of the cycle are we in? As an example, we've gone very heavily into entrepreneurship on the side of buying businesses lately. And why do we do that? Well, because it hasn't been a very good time to buy real estate as of late. That will change. Cycles will go through it. You get the peak of the cycle, then it comes back down, and then it starts all over again. And we're waiting for that opportunity. But while we're waiting for that opportunity, we have been able to identify other opportunities in the marketplace in which we can buy successful businesses. That's part of this becoming an entrepreneur. You look at people that are very successful in real estate. There are some people that just will own real estate. They won't own anything else. But hey, even Grant Cardone, he started out by doing training in the auto industry, by doing training in sales. And he started this whole program out there. That's where he got his initial money in order to be able to build his business and get into the real estate. He always talks about how successful his other businesses. He has 2 or 3. Now he's jumped that up to, I think, a half a dozen of other types of businesses. Does that mean on day one, you're going to go out there, you're going to buy businesses, you're going to buy real estate? No, we're not talking about that. But we're talking about the fact that don't get stuck in a dogma. Don't get stuck where there's only one thing you know how to do. Yes, you should be really good at one thing, but then you ought to be able to take what you're good at and apply it across the board so that when it's time to buy multifamily, you're there buying it. When it's time to sell multifamily, you can pull the trigger because you're not in love with anything you do relative to a piece of property. Same thing with a business. You may be wanting to start up a basic company. Maybe you're a mechanic and you want to start up your own shop. In this day and age, that may not be the best thing to do. Why? Because there are all these baby boomers out there that are wanting to get out of their businesses and they don't have a legacy plan. Well, you could become their legacy plan, but you got to know how it works, how it's done. And there's a lot of gurus out there that are doing this, not so much on the how to buy businesses, more so on just starting them up. We're much more about buying a business, much rather buy something that's successful. What we're talking about here is being able to apply the experience that I've had over the last 40, 50 years of being in business. I started working when I was 16 years old, like many of you did. So I've been working, 66 years old now. Of all that time as an adult, I've only worked for 8 years for somebody else. Just 8 years. Most people can't say that. Most people are saying, hey, they've had a W-2 job. And there's nothing wrong with a W-2 job. But there's a world of difference between getting a paycheck for showing up and doing what you have to do versus you having to go create something, create that income to be able to live on that income. In business, it's always finding the next opportunity. That's what really matters. And then being able to capitalize on that opportunity, be able to raise the funds. I mean, our background is also in real estate syndication and be able to do that. We basically run a small micro-private equity company. We own many businesses. And so we're going to talk about all those things as we go forward and then how that can apply to you. Maybe you're out there and you really don't want to own real estate, but you want to start up a restaurant. You want to get into the restaurant business. Well, we own 3 of them. Why? because they make good money. Example, I hear on the internet all the time, oh, don't buy a restaurant. They're horrible investments. Are you kidding me? It's what kind of restaurant do you want to own? How do you run it? How do you keep from being there 14 hours a day? Because hell, if you've got to be in some building for 14 hours a day in order to make it successful, then it does suck. I get it, but that's not how we do it. So we're going to be teaching you how to be able to own businesses, hire good managers, manage the manager who's managing the managers. That's right. We even have another layer in our company, in our business. So we have a COO that manages the managers. What I call managed income is income that we derive from managing the managers. That's what we want to teach you. In the beginning, when you start up your business, when you start to buy businesses, when you start to buy real estate, it's much more hands-on. It's much more active. There's just no way around that. But we will simplify that so you understand how to do it. What is the theory? How do you keep from just jumping from one thing to the next? Call it the shiny object syndrome, right? You got to be careful of that. There's always opportunities that come out there. And you got to make sure that if you're going to do something, if it fails, will you end up in bankruptcy? Or will it just be a lesson to be learned? Those are the things that we're going to be discussing. All the different pitfalls. It's easy to make money as long as you're not losing it. People focus on making money, and that's great. But you got to focus on doing the right things and doing it over and over again. You know, they talk about Michael Jordan as being one of the greatest basketball players, or LeBron James. Michael Jordan used to practice for hours. He would never let anybody on his team practice more than he did. He was max high performance. All those other guys were high performance because they got onto a professional basketball team, and the chances and the odds of doing that are so ridiculous. The chance you become a professional basketball player is so much less than you becoming a millionaire, a decamillionaire in real estate, in owning a business. You have such a much greater chance. We want to be able to use what they have taught us and their ability to create this high performance, to create this maximum advantage that they have. There's a formula around all that, and that's what we're going to be teaching you. That's where we're going to be going with this. Buying businesses, buying real estate, whether it's single family, whether it's multifamily, how to leverage these businesses properly so that when you're putting loans on these businesses, you're not going to get stuck. You're going to be able to maintain a positive cash flow so that you're making a profit. That's what you want to be able to do. It's easy to go do something, and then it's really easy to fail. When we take over a business, when we enter a new space, we say, hey, don't fuck it up. That's basically our tagline, is just don't fuck it up. Because when we buy a business, it's already making a profit. It's already successful. We just don't want to screw it up. We enhance it. We bring in procedures and we bring in systems and we bring in strategies to enhance it. But we know where the rubber's hitting the road with that business. And we don't screw with that part of the business. We're not looking to make something new. We're just looking to enhance. That's what I want you guys to get to. And why do I talk about this a lot about when you're going to buy a business versus starting a business? It's because of baby boomers. You got about 60 to 70 million people that are all retiring over the next 10 years. It's like 10,000 a day. There are trillions of dollars worth of successful businesses in which the kids don't want it. They're too old to take it over, and they need to sell them. They produce cash. They are cash machines. Someone spent their whole lifetime creating this. Same thing with multifamily. There are so many opportunities in multifamily. Right now, people are saying, oh, interest rates are too high. They may be. But then we're going to be talking about other ways in which to finance these properties, other ways in which people who have owned a building for 20, 30 years and now want to get out of it, well, maybe there's a thing called owner financing. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's what you do when the interest rates get too high, when the mortgages get too difficult to get, you start going directly to owners. We'll be talking about that. All the things that we're going to be discussing, this is what this channel is about. Why? Because for me, it's about legacy. I'm doing this so there's a legacy for my grandchildren's children. I'm doing this so that there's a legacy for you, that you can learn off of what I've done, both good and bad. We make good decisions, we make bad decisions. But you got to make sure that if you're making decisions, that they're not going to lead to ultimate disaster. That's what you don't want. And that's where wisdom, experience, knowledge, that's where it all comes together. That's the one thing that YouTube offers that I never was able to experience. When I wanted to learn about real estate, I had to buy a book. There were no videos on how to become successful. You had to go buy an old stodgy book that was probably 15 years old when you went to read it, because back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they weren't writing too many of these books about real estate, about getting into business. And then you just had to sit there and try to apply it. Now it comes from people like myself. It comes from the heart, comes from the mind, and it gets transferred to folks like yourself. That's what we like to do. There are some people out there, they don't want to tell you how they did anything. They don't want to share any information. And God bless them. That's up to them. I've seen it firsthand. I teach retirement classes at different universities. I taught retirement classes at Roosevelt University in Chicago, at Loyola University in Chicago, Oakton Community College, at half a dozen different colleges around the city for the last 8 years. And you would be amazed. These are people that are all in their 50s and 60s. I'm telling you, folks, what they know about business, what they know about retirement, what they know about becoming financially free, it's ridiculous. All they know is that they were told to put money in a 401k and then let it sit there. Does that sound familiar to you? Because that's what you're being told. So if you want to break away from this kind of behavior, if you want to break away from this kind of ignorance, what you don't know is what's really costing you. Well, in this channel, you'll be able to figure out some of the things you don't know. Now, am I perfect? No. Is my language skills always perfect? No. But that's just the way I roll. You've got to be able to learn, and you've got to be able to do what you need to do in order to get your financial freedom. And why is that? The end goal of this, the benefit that comes from doing this, is your financial freedom. And when you have financial freedom, what that gives you is your freedom of time. Because what we have found in all of what we do, when I was in real estate for years selling real estate as a financial advisor, I always had my time. Most people do not have jobs that give them their time. In other words, they can't be at home when something important is happening. Why? Because they've got to be on the road. They've got to be in that truck. They've got to be at that job. When the baby's taking the first steps, they're missing it. When there's a ball game that's happening after school for their kids, they're missing it. When you have freedom, when you can have your time, it's both financial freedom and the freedom of your time. So you can do what you want to do. For a lot of people, it's travel. I love traveling. Now, if travel to me is going to a nice place, a great resort, sitting by the pool. Travel for you, maybe you want to hike the Alps. What's good for you is not necessarily good for me. What's good for me is not necessarily good for you. But we're going to get down to where you're going to be able to achieve your goals, your dreams. And so in this channel, it's going to be a mix of mindset, business, economy, and even sometimes a little bit on the personal side. Because in mindset, it's all about personal. So that's what we're talking about here. Follow along, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and this is the content we're going to be bringing out to you. Talk to you soon. Let's get out there. Let's make it happen, and let's not fuck it up.